Hello, I'm Kayla. I am a newbie writer. And what I really want to do is make a video of what it looks like as a week in my life as a brand new writer who runs a full-time business on my own. Hello. For the first time, welcome back to those of you who have already been subscribed to my channel. This is the first week that I've really been taking what I've learned in my experiment of starting and writing this book and finding my process and seeing how writing fits in my life as my life already was before I started writing. I own my own business. So I have a coaching business and a curriculum consulting business. I work in coaching and learning. It has been, I guess, not harder than I expected or easier than I expected. I think there because I didn't have an expectation. I always knew that I'd write a book, but I didn't really plan on starting it now. But I had the idea and I just took action on it. So it's just been unexpected all around to be on this journey right now. My husband and I literally just moved to New York, and maybe that's part of like that growth, that moving here from the West Coast. We used to live in Portland, Oregon. I think that's just what spurred the change and the desire to go in the direction that I've always dreamed of, right? They call it like a quantum leap or manifesting your destiny and all of that. But really, it's just this choice of I have this vision of who I am 3 years, 5 years, whatever in the future. And I just had this aha that like, I could just be that person today. So I started writing my book and I'm working on that as a new author. I am about 12,000, or I always say pages. I'm about 12,000 words in, which feels really exciting. And I talked in my last video about the things that I have learned in writing this about my process. So I'm going to work on some of that today, writing about my schedule, thinking about the fear that comes with it, the doubt that comes with it, the challenges and all of that. So if you want to hear more about that, that's in my last video of kind of learning as I finished Act 1. But I'm really excited to move into Act 2. And what I really want to do is make a video of what it looks like as a week in my life as a brand new writer who runs a full-time business on my own. So today is Tuesday, and I started recording this, or I did a recording on Friday. On Friday last week, just kind of like out of the blue, I just had this desire to write, but I didn't have time. I was so worried that I felt like I needed 3 hours or 5 hours, and I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to write. And I have just been really wanting to write, and I haven't had a day. I've had such a busy schedule this week. Oh, sorry, kitten. Hop out of my chair. Hi. No. But I've been really wanting to write, and in my schedule, I haven't like had time in my schedule this week to just like sit down and get after writing. And so I just haven't done it. I've just been wanting to and just kind of putting it aside. But I have an hour right now where I'm like, you know what? Even if I just open up and I only write for 10 minutes, let's just see what happens. So I just made a fresh cup of coffee. I don't have all day, but like I can still get in and have fun. Maybe. We'll see. Actually really fun. I sat for, I don't even know, maybe 30 minutes. I wrote over 1,000 words, like maybe 1,500, and I wrote a whole chapter that I'm really excited about. So I'm glad that I took the moment to sit and do that, even though I felt like I didn't have enough time. Apparently 30 minutes can be enough time if I was feeling excited and inspired. It turned out really well. And so today, that's one of the biggest things when I think about a week in the life of owning my business and doing all of these other things for my business and to grow my business and, of course, keep up with my clients. Today, I woke up and I was like, oh, I just want to write. And I was like, okay. And you're running your business. So I marketed my business on Instagram. I checked in with all of my clients. I answered a few things. I'm getting a website made. So I responded to my website person. And after I got all that done, I was like, you know what? I still want to write. I still have time. I have Wednesday, I have Thursday. It's going to be fine to do those other things. In fact, they fit perfect in my schedule. So I'm going to sit down and do some writing today. So I'm going to start with a couple things. I have to get out my Save the Cat because y'all know my process is look at, as a newbie writer, what am I even supposed to be creating in this section? Then I'm going to get out my big fat ass notebook. This is my fat ass notebook that has all my notes for this whole series because it's going to be a trilogy. If you're new here, this is a young adult trilogy. It's memoir turned fantasy trilogy. So about my life, so that kids going through what I went through can see their journey in it and feel encouraged to move forward and keep going forward with their lives. So this is my big fat ass notebook. So I'm going to read what I need in the next section, handwrite it out in here because that's what makes my process like feel so good and feel so full and like I can feel the story better. Then I'm going to open up my laptop and start typing. A couple things that I will say is I wrote a really exciting part on Friday with that clip that I showed you about when the magic actually starts to appear, because it's very like Hunger Games meets Percy Jackson, where there's magic that comes into it, but it starts in like the semi-dystopian but kind of real place that we all understand. I'm not building a whole new world yet. And so since it like starts in this kind of real world, I wrote the part where the magic really starts to show up. And that was so fun and so creative feeling. Another thing that I want to do, I just finished reading Onyx Storm, which if you finish that, let me know what you think about the curveball at the end. No spoilers, but I think that instead of making a mysterious curveball, they totally could have just put a chapter in so that we could have had information about it. But anyways, I'm going to read Percy Jackson because one of the things that I am really thinking about as I'm writing this first draft is that I think the thing that's kind of missing is this perspective of really being the teenager. And I want to see and think about, like, sometimes I struggle with the idea of like myself as a teenager, since I'm not her anymore. What were some of the reactions, the actual thoughts that I had that a teenager would have? And out of all the ages that I've taught, middle school was like the only age I was not touching. So I'm not as familiar with that. But I want to read Percy Jackson to see how Percy kind of reacts to transitioning from his normal regular life into that magical world. And I think that it's going to give me a lot of great ideas. I actually used to teach from this book, or I did a couple times in reading in school. So that's why there's Post-it notes and things in it. So it'll be fun to go back and read it. And I think I'm going to see how it compares to the Save the Cat beat sheet, and just to kind of deepen my knowledge in what I'm learning in Save the Cat. So I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to get some writing done. Then I'm going to break, have chili that I was making, and maybe keep writing. And then tonight, my husband John and I are going to a place here in the city called Book Club Bar. There's a book event where it's about a woman. I believe the book is called Permission, but she's doing this event where she's talking about giving permission to write your memoir and to tell your story and why it's important and why you should do it. And if you go back and watch my video before, I think it's going to be a really great, actually, my husband found this event, but I think it's going to be really great for me to listen to that, because I shared before some of my fear of sharing my story and my family, hearing that I share my story, and my story, my life includes those other characters who are people in my family. So I'm curious what the woman's going to say tonight about permission in sharing your memoir. But let's get into this writing. This part called Fun and Games, which is a big fat ass chunk of the book. It's actually harder to invent those things than I thought it would be, but obviously not giving up. guess sprint, I don't know, session. I stopped because John came out, or I took a pause because John came out, and we had some lunch, and then I read him chapter 8, which is the kind of magic chapter where I was kind of saying like the magic gets introduced and stuff, but now I have to hustle because I wrote all the way up to going to get my nails done. Lucky for me though, my nail appointment is at 3 o'clock. It is 2:57, but it's literally straight across the street from me. So just gonna hit the crosswalk, get my nails done. I feel really productive. I ended at just over 14,000 words, which feels really, really exciting. This is editing Kayla, not Kayla about to write. Actually, if I have time, I want to write today, but this is not Kayla about to write on Friday like she had planned. Wow, talk about still trying to figure out my schedule. But I think this is really realistic. When I look at this video that I want to make of a week of being a new writer, figuring out my writing schedule, writing a week in writing and what it looks like while also running my own business and doing the other things that I do, I guess it's not a surprise that I wanted and I intended to write one more time and I didn't get it in. I had written by inspiration on that last Friday, then a lot of that other recording was on Tuesday, and we went to that event, which was so inspiring and so amazing. And then as the next Friday rolled around, not only was work like busy with things that I had to do, but I had new ideas for how I wanted to approach work. We were working on recording new podcast episodes and different things like that on Thursday. And then on Friday, I had a lot of like reflections about them and decided to ditch one. But I didn't end up writing on Friday like I planned. And I think that, what are my thoughts on this? I feel okay about it. Part of me feels, I don't know, a little bit disappointed because I want to write more. But writing 3 times in the span of 7 days, that would have been the most that I've done so far, as I've been averaging once a week. And so that's really teaching me that 3 times might be right now for the schedule that I have and the work that I'm doing. It might be a little bit of a big goal. I think right now, if I can get in at least 1 writing session a week, I will feel really good. I will feel really productive, and then leave that time for that inspiration is the thing that I'm learning now. But as I'm doing this, I'm so curious. If you are watching this and you are also writing, I want to know, what do you do? What is your schedule? I'm really excited because I, at that book event, met another writer who's working on her memoir, and we're meeting up this week to do a little co-writing thing. And I'm really curious. She writes full time, but I'm really curious what her strategy is, what her schedule is. So if you are watching this and you are a writer, or honestly, if you are a creative at all, how do you do your art? How do you create the time for it while you're also working full time? Anything, I'm curious to learn from you while you are also watching and learning from me. Go team. I will see you in the next one.